I'm a beast stalker, giant stalker, dragon stalker, crypt stalker, demon stalker, rift stalker, grom stalker, crypt stalker, scourge stalker, wind runner. I'm a pony, lead skill hunter, a death dealer, a life stealer. That's just the cost of being awesome.
Welcome to episode 216 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Dark Brew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
I'm Delirium from Thrill of the Wild, the Warcraft Hunters Union, and at Delirium Hunts on Twitter.
I'm Bendak from Eyes of the Beast, Blizzard Watch, and Bendak WoW on Twitter.
And I'm Artemis Hal from the Warcraft Hunters Union and at Artemis Hal on Twitter.
Today is Sunday, April the 26th, 2015, and we are broadcasting live on twitch.tv. You can participate in the live chat room where our lovely moderator, Ali Sonder, is there to take your questions. And we have an unbelievable show planned for you today. There's just so much news, information, other things to go over. So let's just dive right in. A quick podcasting note. I think we're going to try and move our show time up half an hour earlier. So it'll still be every other Sunday, but instead of 2 p.m. Eastern, we're now going to do 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And we'll put that in the show notes, but that just gives us a better chance of all of us being able to podcast for a full show. So looking forward to that. BlizzCon. Let's talk about BlizzCon because the tickets went on sale the 15th and the 18th. And so why don't we go around and we'll start with you, Delirium, and just talk about, are you going? When are you going out? When are you coming back? And what was your experience getting tickets? Did you, was it smooth? Did you have to beat somebody up for them?
I am going this year again. I'll be there from Wednesday through Sunday at least. Or at least that's when we have a house rented for. I haven't bought plane tickets yet, so we'll see if there's anything else exciting going on that I need to come early or stay late for. But yeah, I didn't have any trouble at all. Everybody was complaining about Eventbrite, and it sounded like on the second day of tickets it was much worse than the first day. But quickly, it seemed like they had announced this new plan where the waiting room was actually going to be a waiting room, like where you're in queue. But that didn't work at all. So it seemed like most people realized pretty quickly that you had to go back to the old way of refreshing constantly if you wanted to get tickets. So I did that, and I think on like my second or third try, it worked out. So. But
you were able to get tickets on that first day on Wednesday versus having to go back on Saturday and try again.
Right.
Yeah, and the Eventbrite people, they mentioned that there was issues on Wednesday, and then they said that they basically did some code fixes to make things go smoother on Saturday, and you just knew that it was not going to go well, that there was no way they were actually going to be able to put in new code, test it, and do any kind of regression testing and not break something. Standing as Saturday was not any better than Wednesday at all. But
yeah, so I don't know if this is real or not, but I do have a little secret tip for anybody who's interested. I think it's what's getting me an easier time than other people. And that's, I have my work, we have a backup T1 line that I can access whenever I want to. And even though a T1, that's super slow internet, we're talking, 1.5 megabytes a second up and down. Which is really slow for today's standards, but it's not shared with anybody else. So basically, we just get to have it all to ourselves, and so it acts as though it's a lot faster than a lot of the other stuff going on.
Cool. And how about you, Artemis? Are you're good to go too? You're heading out there?
Somehow. Wednesday was the train wreck. So we have like 20 people in my guild trying to get tickets, and only 3 people on Wednesday got tickets. Saturday comes around, and because of how messed up the ticket line was, everyone ended up getting tickets somehow. People were getting tickets 2 hours after they were going on sale.
Really? So even after, the thought is that it, they get sold out in like 5 minutes. Like if you didn't get, lucky right away, that you were just going to be out of luck. But you're saying, you guys were able to just get tickets like at like 9 o'clock or something crazy like that?
Yeah, it was kind of silly.
All right, I think we're getting some audio issues here, so bear with us for a minute. I keep hearing some feedback, but we'll keep going while that's working on that. Now, Bendik, you said you might be trying to go this time around. Are you planning to go to BlizzCon, or what are you going to be doing?
Well, I tried to get tickets. Oh, I'm hearing feedback of myself.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I tried to get tickets, but I was unsuccessful. But still wasn't really sure if I was going or not, so I just figured, well, if I get a ticket, they'll have more reason to go. But I didn't get one, so I kept getting booted out like other people too, out of the queue or whatever they called it. It just punted me back to the thing, and then it said unavailable.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I did end up getting a ticket on Wednesday. You know, it was kind of funny. I was actually out in Anaheim on the 15th. I was attending the Star Wars celebration, which was awesome and amazing. I could talk for hours about that, but I just happened to be right across the street from the convention center when the tickets went on sale, and I had my crappy Wi-Fi laptop, which was useless. But then I also had the app on my mobile phone, and that ended up working out pretty well for me. That was, and that's where I ultimately ended up getting my ticket from, was using the mobile on my phone, and was fortunate to get the ticket there. The laptop didn't work at all. I mean, such that it just kept spinning and spinning and never even got into the waiting room. So same issues that most everybody else experienced. So yes, I was trying to do it on two devices at once there and lucked out. So I just need to make my arrangements to plan to go out there, which would probably be similar to what you're doing, Delirium. Maybe a Wednesday and going back. We'll see what we're doing and what else is planned, is going to be planned. But Team Hunter. So, do we any more thoughts on what we want to do out there for BlizzCon?
Yes,
And
so I'm sorry. I think the general goal for Team Hunter is going to be having the meetup on either Friday or Saturday. We're still trying to talk about it with some other members and figure out what we want to do. We're going to start fundraising in May for getting the room at the Hilton, so we can have like more private, more formal and everything like that, and people know where to go. We're still going to do shirts. We're going to have a shirt design made in summer this year, and they're going to be done by a professional artist that's going to do it online. This way, the print will not come out faded. That's some complaints we had. And, yeah, so we'll plan some all hunter raids with that as well and try to promote that too. Alliance side, of course.
Of course, Alliance side. No, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to that more so than just about anything else. It's just to finally get to go out there, see a BlizzCon, but meet all these other hunters that we've interacted with all these years now, and to finally get to shake some hands, give out some hugs, and share some drinks. So I think it's going to be an awesome time.
I think an idea we can do though for Team Hunter, especially as a podcast, is maybe have like a little podcast table where people can come and meet like all the hosts, including like Bendak if he ends up going, or Delirium, everybody really, and maybe hand out stuff in our little swag bags that we want to make this year. Like, I don't know, hunting party podcast stickers.
That would be cool. I like that idea. A whole heck of a lot, and we'll talk more about that too, and also possibilities for maybe even doing some podcasting out there as well. So I'll have some thoughts on that based on my experience at the at the Star Wars celebration with some podcasting I got to do while I was out there. So there might be some things we can do for that. That would be fun. So
Grill the wild condoms.
oh my gosh, look at you guys. I'm not even going to go there.
Delirium did.
I'll leave it to the chat room. Chat room, you can make send us your jokes and your thoughts on that idea, and maybe we'll read them later in the show. But oh my god.
I think Delirium should go into a little bit of that. We did want to do a Thursday brunch as well, not the other stuff. Calm down. So another idea we could do is a Thursday morning like hunter gathering at some kind of breakfast, lunch ordeal. You want to talk about that, Delirium?
Well, I think that's the whole thing. You were the one who had ideas for a place, right?
We
Some
can go
brunch
get
spot
chicken and
close by.
waffles. Yep,
Oh, right.
yeah.
Roscoe.
Got it.
Yep, it's right down the road.
No, that's a great idea.
Mimosas or some kind of
Mhm.
brunchy alcohol. Get the day started right.
Yes. Then we can all get tickets together. Our badges pick up. That's usually on Thursday.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the logistics. So I was saying when you go get your badges and stuff like that, but it sounds like Thursday's today. So awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, as much as I hate the cold weather and I'm done with winter, I really can't wait for like November to get here and December as well for that matter. So much cool stuff, so much cool geeky stuff going on. Uh, but but like I said, it's all when the weather's cold, at least back here in East. So I kind of have to temper my excitement for these things to arrive because I like summer. So speaking of summer, let's talk. I want to talk about the Ethermead site, Artemis. This is your new baby, and it's just awesome. Um, you just launched this. Was it last week or the week before? Anyway, just new this week. So why don't you talk about this, what it is, and what it means for hunters? Because there's some cool stuff on there.
So Ethermead is a website where the original idea was to take in-game items and just bring in the life, like drinks that you've seen in your bags before you're sitting there, like, wonder what that would actually taste like in my mouth. And the goal is we're still going to make those, but we've kind of spun into a more Blizzard-themed kind of cocktail drink idea that would be, like, the best way for any amateur bartender or anybody interested in mixology to just bring to life and create some cool looking shots and cocktails that would make any WoW gathering or BlizzCon party like a hit. So we launched the website with 11 class shots, and one of them was a Cobra Shot. And it's very refreshing as well as a very powerful little drink. And it's 1.5 ounces of Midori, half ounce of triple sec, half ounce of sweet and sour, half ounce of gin. And we do have other hunter drinks planned. Some ideas that you guys were throwing around at me were like, we're going to make a kill shot where it's just going to be like a one-hit wonder, basically, where it's just going to like hit you really, really hard. Hunters have it easy, though. You can make like any kind of shot because they just, everything ends with shot in our little arrangement of stuff.
Yeah, that's what the great thing about the like you said, the hunter class is like there's arcane shot, explosive shot, tranquilizing
shot. Be so much fun.
Yeah,
you can make like a purple tranquilizing shot. It'd be so neat.
Yeah, explosive shot has to be a flaming shot of some kind for sure. I think that should be one of the requirements. Is you have to light it on fire before you drink it.
We actually can do stuff like that. We were working with creating fire shots with different mixtures and stuff. So we'll have something probably planned for next week.
Yeah. And mages are like that too with their little fire specks and all that. But yeah, that's cool. I have to admit I haven't had the Cobra Shot yet, but I definitely plan to do that soon. It sounds like a pretty tasty drink, actually, very sweet and fruity almost. It's got a lot of stuff that I like.
Exactly, it's delicious. Like all my shots were taste tested and approved by a lot of poor little taste testers because some of my experiments might not have done so great at first, but. It's the master of mixology. You gotta just test and test until you get something right.
Yeah, and I saw on the site that there was that link for the party games and things. So I think we need to get some version of the Hunting Party Podcast drinking game up there for sure.
Yeah, every time you mention Hunter in the podcast, you have to take a shot.
Yeah.
I really think that'd be the best way to start a drinking game for that.
That's gonna be a lot of shots.
Yeah, I know. Well, you'll be over in the first 5 minutes of the show. You'll be on the floor. But
Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a very cool site, so everyone should definitely check it out. It's beautifully done. All the recipes for the drinks are up there and pictures of them all. And yeah, that's a lot of fun. So I look forward to seeing what else you come up with for that, especially with the hunter drinks.
Yeah, we plan on making a shot every Tuesday, and we plan on having a new cocktail up every Saturday. I was out of town yesterday, so I'll have my Hearthstone concoction that I made up today, so patience.
Yeah, I saw the picture of that you posted on Twitter, by the way. So very cool. It was a very attractive looking drink.
It requires a stencil, so it's a little fun.
All right. Well, There you go. So let's move on because, like I guess we've got a ton of news to cover. Patch 6.2 is coming. It is on the PTR. We don't know when it's going to be released, but oh my god, so much great stuff coming in there. Why don't we blow through that? Or do we want to mention something real quickly about the Warcraft movie? I mean, we don't talk about too much general stuff, but it's coming out June 10th, 2016. They announced that, and at least the company line was because that the Universal, the movie company, liked it so much they thought it was summer blockbuster material. So
Yeah, and it sounds like that's what most in the biz are saying. That if you move your movie to early June, you must be really proud of it or really excited about making money off of it. So it sounds good. Hopefully, it's as good as they think it is.
I hope so. I hope we get to see hear a whole bunch more about it at BlizzCon. It should be close enough that we should get like trailers
teaser?
and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah. So that's exciting. So that's good. That's encouraging. That at least some people in the industry think it's going to be really good, because we all want it to be really good. But let's dive into 6.2. I don't know, Bendik, do you want to walk through some of these general changes that are coming just to get people in the know or excited about it?
Sure. So there's the new Tanan Jungle Zone, which is kind of like I played on it a bit on the PTR. It's kind of reminded me of Time Isle because you're running around, you're finding all these little things to click on, and there's all these rares to kill, stuff like that. It's a lot bigger than the Time Isle though. There's a lot of different environments and stuff. I also went searching around there for pets. I only found the one, the big armored wolf, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw the screenshots of that.
I did see that. That was the Iron Warwolf, and it
Yeah.
looked like you even had a transmog set put together to match it. I don't know what gear you were wearing, but I saw the tweet and I was like, "Jeez."
Oh, that was just the tier 17, the mythic stuff.
Was it? So it looks like it was tailor made to go along with that Iron Warwolf, but
Yeah, it's the same wolf that Beast Lord Darmak rides. So it's a pretty neat looking pet.
and it's not rare or anything like that. It's just sort of a standard pet that's out there that you can just kind of see him roaming around.
Yeah, it's just a regular wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I really saw on the new zone. But what else they got? They've got the new mythic difficulty dungeons. I don't know if any of you tried those out.
I've not looked at those. I don't even know how much. I haven't run even a regular heroic 5-man dungeon in at least a couple months now. I mean, I've hardly touched them. Once I didn't need the gear from there, I kind of stopped doing them.
Yeah, I heard that the mythic dungeons, they're essentially, it sounded like they're just like more health and damage. They're not like giant challenges or anything. It's just an alternate gear path for your alts or something like that. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, typically what happens, right, with the heroics, and they're probably even this way now. Once we start getting that raid gear, they just become, you just overgear them, and you just face roll through them. But now that there's, back when we had the badges to collect, it made sense to go through and get your Valor badges. But now there's really almost no incentive to run through them. So I guess this is their way of getting us to do their 5-man content and having it feel like it's still a difficulty level appropriate to where we're at.
Yep, that and the new time walking feature, which is it's like a weekend event thing where they put up a new dungeon every weekend. It might be a couple dungeons, and you can go back there and your gear is scaled down, but you keep all your abilities, and you just walk out of there with it's the same loot as it was back in the day. It's just scaled up to a higher eye level. So it's just something to do for fun, basically.
Yeah, and that's something you can run with your low-leveled friend who's still trying to get through, the old zone, too, right? That's what it sounded like you could do.
I'm not sure if you can do that.
So it was on the patch notes they were talking about anybody, as long as you were past whatever level the dungeon was, then everybody would get scaled down the same.
That's true. Yep. So for the TBC dungeons, as long as you're 70 plus, anyone can run it in that group from 70 to 100.
Yeah, so that'll be kind of fun. I mean, it's still very situational that opportunity will come up, but it'll be fun, I think. Just something to do, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
curious to see how the difficulty actually feels too, given that because they did say you're going to keep obviously all your gear, so you have all your trinkets with their procs, and you're going to have all of your abilities that you have to your, they're not going to. It's not a complete going back in time where you're now going to be, the same
I know.
abilities and things that you had in Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King, and so, and some of those encounters I think were sort of tuned based around whatever abilities and things existed at the time. So be interesting to see how that affects it.
Actually, it'd be kind of interesting if you did get the old abilities, like to go in there with volley.
No, exactly.
That'd be cool.
So did they give an idea of how much the gear is going to scale to current levels? Will it be like a heroic dungeon currently is, or?
I forget the exact eye level. It was somewhere in between heroic dungeons and like normal raids or something like that. I don't have the exact eye level with me, but it's just like a weekend thing. So it's not something they want you running all the time. It's just like a special event you can do on the weekends.
Yeah, it's a neat idea. So we'll have to, I may actually go back and do some of those old dungeons when they come out and are available, just to kind of get that little bit of a nostalgia kick, and be fun to go do those dungeons and actually have them feel like they were back in the day. One other thing they're going to do here is the legendary ring quest line. It sounds like we're going to be able to complete that in 6.2 and finally get our final ring.
Yeah.
Have
Looks
they?
like looks like you'll be able to complete it fairly soon in the patch too. Like you won't have to wait that long.
Which makes sense. It was kind of like that for, was it 5.4? Most people got their cloaks. If you had been
5.4,
doing,
it was instant. You could get it
Yeah.
the first day.
Yeah.
This isn't instant because you need 12 items from killing bosses in the raid. So
Okay, so you have to do a little bit of raiding
Yeah.
beforehand, but it's still nice enough that you get it early enough that you can actually have it available to use while you're doing your raid progression versus when it's all over. Not that it's not fun, but it's kind of nice to have some of these things available during the hardest parts of the of your progression.
yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I wonder if maybe there is going to be another whole raid tier to take advantage of it. Especially with this upgrade thing they data mined. So basically, when you get the ring, it's 735 eye level, and then WoW had found this stuff in the data that says you can upgrade it in 3 eye level increments all the way to 795. So that sounds like something.
Oh wow!
That maybe once a week you can do another upgrade or something like that. I don't know how it's going to work, but
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's the question too. I mean, 6.2 feels like almost like it's the final patch of this expansion. I mean, Artemis, do you get that sense too, or do you think there's more on the way? I don't know if you've heard anything else about what might be coming afterwards, but it just feels like this is, in some ways, the final patch that they have planned for Warlords. But I can't. It just feels weird thinking that it would be the final patch.
I mean, I know they want to go with a 2-tier kind of thing for this expansion, and the final quest that alludes to the legendary ring, when you finish this one currently in this patch, says like, oh, the final chapter. That kind of alludes to certain things like, oh yeah, it's probably the last patch, blah blah blah, it's last raid content that we're gonna probably see. But I mean, you never know what Blizzard has up their sleeve. Maybe they have like a 3rd tier in mind. Maybe they're going to announce an expansion at BlizzCon. Maybe if that expansion takes longer than they thought, they'll have like a 3rd tier come out. There's plenty of room for speculation, though.
Yeah. Anyone else? What do you think, Delirium? You think You think there's more coming in Warlords of Draenor?
I sure hope so. I can't imagine they're having an expansion pack ready, soon, with no beta at all yet, and I don't want another 5.4. So I hope there is. It seems like, well, maybe not really, but I suspect that there might be more content that isn't on Draenor. You know, we go back somewhere else for the last raid, or something happens that's not on Draenor. We need to go somewhere else to fight somebody else. I don't know what it would be. But it does feel like Draenor's over, but I'm hoping that doesn't mean that content for this expansion is over.
Yeah, I think there probably will be more. I mean, I noticed that Gromosh seems to be sort of missing as any kind of boss or something we would fight, as well as Gul'dan in some ways. I mean, there just don't seem to be. You would think that. I mean, Gul'dan has sort of been a focus, and I don't know if he would be the final boss of this expansion, or if they'll carry him over into whatever the next expansion is. Assuming that the Burning Legion will be sort of the big story in the next expansion. So maybe he would be. They'll save him for that, but I don't know. I mean, Archimong doesn't seem like he would be the final boss of this expansion.
Maybe they're gonna pull a Cho'Gall again, like they did with Imperator. Final phase of Mythic, you kill this guy.
Yeah, but then all the people that don't do Mythic could be like, hey, I want to experience the story too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They'll all freak out.
I heard a great idea, which is not at all based on what Blizzard would do. It was just actually on the Grumpy Elf's blog, he was talking about an idea for a last tier, and that would be like, what if we lost? We never really lose, but the last tier of raid could be us kind of running away, and so the killing the bosses is us trying to get out of Draenor, trying to escape. Maybe we have to hold people off, but it's overall, even if you beat the raid, we're still losing and have to run away. And I thought that would be really fun. It's just something we've never had to experience, and would certainly make the Burning Legion a lot scarier in the next expansion.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I still think there's going to be something else. I don't know if it's going to be like a full-fledged tier or just like a mini raid or something. But like you said, BlizzCon is until November, and there's speculation is that this raid's going to come out in like June or July. So if they don't announce it till November, when's this new expansion going to come out, and how long is? They don't want Hellfire to last 14 months again, like
No, they don't.
Siege did. So I think there's something else, and this whole upgrading your legendary ring, I think that's you'll get the legendary ring, and then throughout the next tier, maybe you can continue to upgrade it or something like that.
Yeah, and class trinkets, having that on the last boss isn't really helpful for anything if we're going to replace them before the next expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in just a minute here. So, a couple other things worth noting here. They're going to introduce epic gems that give plus 75 of each stat. So that'll be nice. I mean, we didn't have epic gems last expansion.
Do we know, are those dropping from only a specific tier, or how we're going to get the mats to make those?
They're crafted with, you have to use fell blood, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a new reagent because we're going to be able to do. They're going to include, I think, 2 new tiers of crafted items. So things like your guns and the armor pieces. You're going to be able to upgrade those, and they're going to use that new reagent, fell blood, which you'll get from the barn. I assume you'll just be able to trap the same animals that you did before. I don't know if there'll be something new to trap. Wouldn't make sense to do that, but fell blood, I guess, will replace savage blood. So. No stocking up on savage blood to get ahead of the curve and be ready to go and craft those new items right away.
Which is annoying.
Yes.
And those crafted items go up pretty high in eye level too. There's 2 new stages, and the armor is actually 5 eye levels higher than heroic gear for the new tier, for the new raid. I mean, so you can get your gun all the way up to 705 and the armor to 715.
And what's the item level from the raid gear? Like the heroic raid gear is going to be what?
715?
715? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was 710 because the mythic is 725 and they're usually 15 apart.
It's looks like it was 715 on Datamine. Let me double check that.
Yeah, mythic is 725 and then it goes down to normal, which is like 695 or 700 or something like that.
695 is normal. Yeah, they're doing it like 10 apart this time.
Oh, so $6.95 and then 7.
Or I
710.
think that's
710.
LFR is $6.95.
Okay.
Yeah. No, $6.95
No.
is normal. Okay.
Anyway, the crafted gear is pretty good. It's
Yeah.
it should last you for a while if you upgrade it.
Which is usually worth doing. I mean, other than the who knows how much fell blood, it's gonna yeah, it may or may not be worth doing, right? Because you're gonna hop into the raid on day one, and you're gonna presumably potentially start getting upgrades. So depending on the pieces that you get first, it may dictate what you want to craft or upgrade.
True, it'll be expensive at the start too because there's no
Yep.
stockpile. But I wonder if you can buy it with your primal spirits because I've got like 2,000 of those just sitting around. So I really hope you can. Because I don't know
Yeah,
of any other way.
I haven't looked on the PTR to see if there's anything on the vendor that you could purchase, but that would be nice. But well, why don't we go into hunter changes, which is what most people are here to hear us talk about, and we've got not a lot of them, but they're worth talking about. I mean, let's just talk about the big one, which is aspect of the fox being taken away.
Yep,
And
just deleted.
Yeah, just deleted, just gone. So Artemis, why don't we start with you because you've done a lot of mythic raiding. You've probably used it a ton. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, we never like to see anything get taken away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like seeing anything get taken away, but I think they need to do some serious balancing checks for the fact that we are very mobile still, and the fact that we can't give a lending hand to the other players with our mobility help kind of makes me worried about what they're going to do with us damage-wise, and I've seen a lot of movement on these fights already where it can get kind of hairy for casters, so I really can't imagine what's going to happen next year.
I mean, were you called upon to use it a lot on the various encounters? Did you guys coordinate Fox on the raid if you had multiple hunters? I mean, how were you utilizing it? I'm just trying. I'm not sure I understand why they're taking it away. They haven't.
So
There's been zero explanation for why they want to do that.
I can understand why they want to take it away. They don't like the idea of pure DPS really having that much utility when hybrids don't really have that much other utility, and some other classes really don't have something nearly as powerful as what we do. And to be honest, Aspect of the Fox is pretty darn cool. It's a great cooldown, right? Amp Magic for a mage, like, as a healing cooldown, like, I can understand it being scrapped as well, so. But yeah, back on topic. We did coordinate Fox frequently, this tier especially. We use angry assignments to kind of track cooldowns and everything, and there was always a line for specifically Fox, like when we want to use it here, and more fights had it more useful than others. Chromok, for example, the pillar phase, like you use like 3 Foxes so people can just constantly dodge spikes and cast their spells and just do the full maximum damage that they can possibly do on the pillars while not getting hit at the same time. Mythic Blackhand, phase 1, 3 Foxes for all 3 demolitions was perfect. Thogar had really useful times for Fox. Maidens had its moments on the ship. Fox is a really useful cooldown, and we'll see how it works without it next year.
Bendek, how about you? What are your thoughts on Fox?
It honestly doesn't bother me that much because I'm not brought to my raid because of Fox. I know some hunters are worried about, like losing their spot and stuff like that. Maybe that's the case if, you're in like a high-end team and you have like 3 or 4 hunters and they're going to be like, well, now we're going to scale back. But I think for the average hunter, it's not going to harm you that much in terms of your raid spot. It's more of a loss for the healers and casters, to be honest.
Right.
Like for me, it's just like, well, I guess I can't mount on the move anymore.
Right.
Oh, say it isn't so. Although that one video you did during the beta of doing that and using Fox like that was pretty cool. So that will be missed a little bit. And then what are your thoughts on this one, Delirium?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Bendek said, I think this is more of a nerf to Trank Shot, or to Tranquility. What's the druid thing called? Is that it, Tranquility?
Tranquility, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a huge nerf to Tranquility, because they were always wanting it to make it through damage or be able to use it for its full duration. Yeah, I think some other healers will be pretty upset about not having access to it. A lot of DPS casters were really loving being able to burst on their move for a while, so it really affects everybody else more than it affects hunters, it seems. I know I'll really miss it in arena matches, being able to cast that for my healer, and maybe mix it up with our Master's Call and stuff like that. Was really nice in arenas, but it wasn't huge. It didn't make the difference between a win or a loss. So, yeah, sorry guys, you don't get it anymore.
And I think the feeling too is this is really geared towards rating in PvP or PvE. This change more so than PvE or PvP. Oh, good grief!
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you seem to PvP more than the rest of us, Delirium. So I don't know if you saw or heard anything about being perhaps overpowered in PvP. Although, as we'll see with a couple other changes, they do seem to have the capacity now to adjust abilities for PvP and PvE, which is nice instead of having to do one giant nerf or buff or something and screw one over the other.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, there's not as much planning in PvP, so it's not really. It doesn't affect games like it does in raiding. Nobody's bringing 3 hunters to a PvP match or in a 3-man arena, so there's not really much to worry about. I think, yeah, it does seem like it was definitely aimed at the changes for raiding, and I'm not sure. So maybe this means they have some specific encounters planned that couldn't have worked with Aspect of the Fox, and they just really wanted to put that mechanic in a raid and couldn't think of anything else. That's kind of my guess. Either that or it had something to do with the class trinkets or new abilities, the ring stacking, maybe having the ring cooldown and Aspect of the Fox at the same time was just too valuable in their heads. It seemed like there must have been some mechanic that they just didn't like it mixing with.
I want to go back to Ben Neck's point about how, yeah, it's not really going to affect the hunters too much. It's really going to affect the casters, and I think this will open up a new horizon of players needing to, once again, think about what they're doing before they move. And it's a little too early to judge what spec is going to be best yet on a fight, but I know the only time I really liked Ask for the Fox for myself was when I was playing Marksman. And based on some of the stuff I've seen in the tier set so far, I kind of want to get back into Marksman, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Well, speaking of Marksman, I mean, the only change for them is aim shot looks like it's going to get buffed and it's going to be dealing about 15% more damage, which is good. I mean, there's nothing, I don't know, not too much to say about that other than yay, more damage from a big ability like that.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting with the 4-piece especially, which takes a second off of, maybe we weren't trying to get into that yet, but takes a second off of the cast time for aim shot.
Yeah, let's run through. Let's just run through the other changes, and then we can talk about the the set bonuses, which are pretty cool. Survival had its mastery, Essence of the Viper. Its effectiveness was increased by, I think, 19%. An explosive shot was nerfed, by 15%. And then there was this serpent sting change, which said the sting no longer deals an initial tick of damage when the periodic effect is first applied. So, Bendik, why don't you talk about, I guess, the mastery increase and then the other two, which are clearly nerfs, because I know you had some thoughts about that, when it was announced, especially whether or not the mastery would be a good trade-off for the other two changes.
Actually, Delirium had a really good post about that, so maybe he wants to talk about this, because he did the math about what kind of nerf this is.
Sure, yeah, Delirium, why don't you give us your
findings? So basically I just took a parse that I had been looking at anyways, one of the hunters that I've been raiding with sometimes, and took out all of the damage that would have been done by the initial Serpent Sting ticks, and then added in, just pretended he had done his rotation the same, and gotten, and had the same effect with all the changes to mastery and explosive shot, and it worked out to be about a 20% nerf overall. So I think nobody's expecting that it's going to go live the way the PTR is now, but how it looks is just worthless. I mean, there's just if it were to go live the way it is, there's no reason to play survival at all. Its damage is just hit too hard. And there's no way you're going to play survival so well that it could overcome one of the other specs.
I want to say real quick that I really think these changes so far are just barely scratching the surface for tuning. So yeah, just don't panic, guys. We still have time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that's. Go ahead.
A lot of people kind of made the point that this is assuming they still go forward and fix the damage and tune everything. That it is kind of a good change that they never really intended for multi-strike to be as powerful as it was. I have no idea why they didn't fix it in the beta. It was very well known about, but maybe they just didn't, I don't know, think ahead. So if that change overall happens, it'll mean we can use a lot more gear as survival because you won't have to have multi-strike on every single piece to be a competitive spec. It won't be so much more valuable than every other stat. So, it could be a really good thing that they're doing these changes. We just got to wait and see what else they do to compensate.
Yeah, and as for beta, they probably didn't fix it because back then Serpent Sting did, half the damage? So no one really cared about it or noticed. And the one thing I wanted to bring up was a big part of the reason focusing shot is so good for survival right now, I feel, is because you're spamming out your multi-shots and arcane shots so much more, which gives you all these extra instant ticks and multi-strike ticks and all that stuff. So now there's really no reason to hit the target again, except for every 15 seconds to refresh it, right? So, like focusing shot, did it just lose all of its luster for survival?
Yeah, it looks like it. I don't know if anybody, how updated Simcraft is, if we started looking at a lot of these changes. But yeah, it looks like Lone Wolf is really pulling into the lead for survival, especially while you still have the current set bonuses.
Yeah, which sucks because that was focusing shots only niche was survival, And now it's like, now everyone's going to be Lone Wolf. Because you just don't need to put those Serpent Stings on more than every 15 seconds because there's no point.
Right. Yeah, and as we move from SV to MM, I'm predicting a comeback in focusing shot for Marks Hunters because of the set bonus, but we can get to that later.
Yeah, well, why don't we jump into that now? Because the only other two changes, per se, were Murder Crows and Barrage, and they've both been nerfed to deal 80% less damage in their normal damage in PvP.
20% less.
20% less. Sorry, 80%. Yeah, gosh. Yes, they do 80% less damage. They're completely worthless in PvP. No, you're right. I just read that wrong. But again, the only thing I have to say about that is it's nice to see them be able to adjust these abilities for PvP specifically and not have to, nerf them for everything just to accommodate PvP.
Yep. Or else if they would have done this back in MOP, we would probably still have the awesome version of Link's Rush.
That's right. But all right, so let's move on to the tier 18 set bonuses. They were announced, and again, everything is subject to change because it is the PTR. But why don't we talk about the Beast Mastery first? Because we haven't really talked, because there haven't been any other changes to Beast Mastery. But the two-piece was Arcane Shot increases the duration of focus fire. Did it say by how much? I mean, it wasn't clear.
Yeah, it's 16 minutes and 40 seconds, I think. So, yeah, it's just a data mining thing.
Yeah, the tooltips from the data mine stuff are not very helpful sometimes. They're funny, actually. They're very amusing.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I'd say it's a couple seconds or something like that. But we don't know how much.
And the four pieces, the focus fire effect also summons a Fellbore to assist you, and then it says it lasts while focus fire is active. Once again, Beast Mastery gets another bonus that summons yet another pet by your side.
Yeah, both of these are just huge for BM, and that focus fire is such a amazing, overpowered cooldown as it is. If you are lucky enough to get a lot of frenzy procs, but when that happens, it's just such a huge increase to DPS. So extending the duration when you have a full 5 stacks is going to be amazing. I'm really interested to see how this is going to work. Like so right now we often, if you have Stampede open, even if you only have 1 stack of Frenzy, you hit that right away. But so if you're casting Arcane Shots and extending your 1 stack, 1 Frenzy stack Focus Fire, are you going to be hurting yourself because it's going to take longer to get the full benefit of Focus Fire? I think it'll be really interesting to see what people do with it to try and make the most out of that, or if we have to stop hitting Arcane Shot at some point to try to get the Focus Fire to end and get a higher powered one up.
Yeah, you could also, if you have a bunch of stacks already, you could just cancel the current focus fire, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of weird that it's on Arcane Shot for me. I kind of would have rather it be on Kill Command. It seemed like Arcane Shot's something I barely touch except during Bestial Wrath, you know?
Now you're going to want to touch it a lot.
It's very unpowerful right now, so is this going to bring it up to be almost more powerful than Barrage on single target? Is it going to switch to like the other specs?
That's what I mean. It's like now we have to do all this math to, all of a sudden Arcane Shot's, your highest priority ability or something. It's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, especially if you have it up, Focus Fire up with, like, say, the full stacks.
Right.
You might want to extend that version of it as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, and I love that. I love when just like Survival is currently on live, where you change your spec or change your rotation depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun. So I'm glad Beastmastery will get something a little more interesting to do with their rotation.
Yeah, and you wonder too, like going into Bestial Wrath, if you want to try and do everything you can to make sure you have full stacks going into there, just because you're going to be hitting Arcane Shot so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there won't be I assume we won't be resetting the cooldown of Bestial Wrath 20% of the time on kill commands anymore.
No.
So that'll definitely be interesting. Unless we can, maybe we need to use our old 2-piece and the new 2-piece at the same time.
I guess it depends on how powerful that Felbor is that you summon to assist you.
I assume
and
high level increase will be enough, but
I mean, I love the synergy that they have between all, and they've done it for all three of the specs. But I just love the fact that the 2 and the 4-piece play off each other, and they kind of feed into each other, because you get that Felbor that lasts as long as your Focus Fire is active, and you've got your Arcane Shots, which is increasing the duration of Focus Fire, which will increase how long that Felbor stays active. And I guess there'll be some randomness to it as well. Especially like if your 4-piece procs right as your Focus Fire is about to end, that would not be great.
Well, the 4-piece, it's up when your Focus Fire is up, so it's not really a proc in that.
Okay, it's not a proc. I got you. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's cool. That's cool.
It's actually kind of reduces RNG for BM. These things. Yeah, I'm just curious how it's going to change up things like Focus Fire usage. Like, are we going to be saving stacks more? Are we, not going to be saving stacks more? And we're going to be doing all these canceled auras, and it'll be interesting. I just want to try it out. I'm just not convinced that it's the Arcane Shot thing. Like I said, I'd just rather it be Kill Command, but I guess we'll see.
And then now, Artemis, you said you were leaning towards Marksman a little bit, or you want to take a look at Marksman in Hellfire? Is that what you said earlier?
I just got excited at the tier set because when you critically hit with Chimera Shot, you gain rapid fire for 4 seconds? I thought it reset rapid fire.
No, you gain, it's like a separate little rapid fire buff that lasts 4 seconds.
Okay, I read the tooltip wrong. Never mind. But there's still some single target fights where I can just imagine sitting there and...
Did you have time to give some... I know you got to scoot out of here because you got to go to work. Did you want to give some quick thoughts on the Marksman 2-piece and 4-piece before you go, or...?
I'm a little indifferent now with the 2-set, but I think the 4-set's going to make it ridiculous when you do a rapid fire up, so that could easily add some windows of opportunity with that, especially with the new class specific trinket, so which I don't know we've touched yet.
No, we haven't gotten into that yet, but yeah, that was interesting because well, we can talk about that real quick since I know you were kind of had your eye on marksman, but for marksman the spec specific trinket, your shots deal increased damage per yard between you and the target. So the further you are standing away from the target, the more damage you'll do. Is the way I interpreted that.
Mm-hmm. This is either great or terrible.
Yeah,
depending on the fight.
It could be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it.
I was looking at
something to do.
I was just thinking about how we tested the very first fight Fell Reaver, and I really feel like that's gonna be an awesome marksman fight, especially if you're gonna be standing in the back and turreting more or less, depending on what your strat is so far. And I just think that's where marksman, for example, is gonna shine. Don't know about other fights yet.
Yeah, anytime you have a stacking phase or something where it makes sense for the group to stack up, that probably won't be ideal for a marksman, especially if you have to be close to the boss when you're stacking, which you probably would be just because of the silly melee. But those are the situations where more marksmen certainly could be hurt. But again, I don't know if we read off. So yeah, so the 2 pieces, when you critically hit with Cobra Shot, you gain rapid fire for 4 seconds, which is kind of neat. And then, of course, the 4-piece reducing the cast time of aim shot. So,
actually, I think they'll synergize pretty well because you get that short little rapid fire. You can pop in 2 or 3 aim shots in there because you're going to get the focus back from the crits, right?
Yep.
So you just keep firing them off. I think the marksman bonuses sound pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the aim shot 4-piece works out. I'm predicting at the moment that focusing shot is going to be back on top for marksmanship because with 1 second lower, that's a lot more aim shots throughout the fight. That's tons more, and there's a lot more focus you need more often. So I'm maybe it's just wishful thinking because I really like the play of focusing shot on marksmanship, but I think it's really going to be helpful to have all that extra focus to pool, even over the extra damage from Lone Wolf.
Right. Well, I believe Artemis, you've got to scoot on out of here, so we'll let you go, but we'll keep on going because we got a lot more stuff to cover. But thank you as always, and next week or next time we'll bump the show up time half an hour earlier. We'll start at 1:30, so you can be here for the entire show.
Yeah, I always want to be here till the end, and I got work. The masters need me, boys. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.
All right, later. All right. So back to the set bonuses then. We've got survival left. The 2-piece was Black Arrow increases all elemental damage done to the target by 15%. And then the 4-piece was Explosive Shot causes a Shadow Nova on targets afflicted by Black Arrow. So, Bendek, what are your thoughts on those bonuses?
Well, the 2-piece is kind of boring. It's just, you do more damage. The 4-piece, don't really know how that Shadow Nova is going to work yet, so it's hard to comment, but it sounds like it could just be like an AoE explosion when you hit Explosive Shot if the target has Black Arrow, but I don't know if that's correct or what, or if it's going to explode for every tick or just the initial hit. No idea.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand it either, and I mean, you're pretty much going to have Black Arrow for the most part, I think, just on a single target anyway, so I don't know.
Well, wait. Don't forget that trinket.
Oh, wait. Yes. You're right. I guess we incorporate the trinket into it because all these things play together. So yeah, go ahead and explain the survival piece of the spec trinket.
Yeah. So the Archimon trinket for survival, Arcane Shot and Multi-Shot have a 50% chance to reset the cooldown of Black Arrow. And that scales up all the way to 66% chance if it's a mythic piece. So on a multi-target fight, you're going to be able to throw Black Arrow on a bunch of your targets, that's a lot of damage. And so you got So I wonder if so you get an explosive shot and you can kind of, if you get lock and load proc, you can kind of pepper your shots off onto different targets to spread your shadow novas, assuming they're AoE. So I mean, there's something interesting there.
Yeah, I forgot all about that trinket. That is very cool. So yes, we will be, applying Black Arrow onto multiple targets, and there's very few, if any, single target fights these days anyway. So that matter. Well, there's some, but a lot of times they have ads.
I should probably mention, since we skipped it, the BM trinket.
Oh yeah, so BM, yeah, oh yeah, this is an interesting.
This is insane.
This one's crazy. Yeah, go ahead and why don't you talk about this one, Delirium?
Okay, so the tooltip's reading: Bestial Wrath now lasts an additional 50 seconds on your pet and increases your pet's damage by an additional 15%, scaling from 10 to 18% based on eye level. So the reason I think this is just ridiculous is because of that trinket. What's it? Eternal Wrath? What's the trinket called?
Yeah,
or
the glyph. Yeah, the glyph of endless wrath.
So if we're soloing endless wrath, that's right. And so if you're soloing, I mean, that's 100% uptime. Where your pet can't die, apparently. So I have no idea what's going to happen or how that's going to work. But if we're just go in and keep aggro on our pet, that should be a guaranteed win.
To keep in mind, when the glyph of endless wrath, when you have that, your pet can't hold any aggro during bestial wrath.
Oh, I didn't realize.
It works like that already. It's when Artemis and the other hunters were doing those all hunter raids, they found that out.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not nearly as exciting then.
Yeah. It's still kind of crazy, so I think they'll probably do something like the glyph only works for the first 10 seconds or something like that. Because yeah, even in like PvP, it's like, well, your pet can't be killed.
Yeah, it's like for PvP especially, that's where the danger's gonna lie, because
these don't work in organized PvP. It would only be Ashran where you could use it.
Would they still work in random battlegrounds or just?
No, I don't believe they do.
Oh.
I haven't tried going in.
Well, then I guess it's not a big deal. They should just leave it as it is because it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I do like big red pets.
It's permanent big red pet. This is always going to be red. But yeah, it doesn't really tie into the tier bonuses, but I mean, hell.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But still, it's still pretty cool. And you're going to be doing a lot more damage as a result. So, but this is the first time they've done these spec specific trinket. Well, it's not trinkets plural. It's just one trinket, and that will switch with your spec. But the fact that they've done this for all the classes is kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, that 15% additional pet damage during all the time, since it'll be 100% of the time, Bestial Wrath for your pet. It does stack with your mastery. It works multiplicatively. So I think we're going to see mastery pull to the clear winner in secondary specs. And also BM mastery doesn't cap. There's no, like SV 100% multi-strike is the most you can use, but BM mastery doesn't cap. So I think this is still looking fairly insane.
Yeah.
Working, multiplying together and stacking as much mastery as you can is going to be crazy.
And it does drop, of course, off Archimond, who is the final boss of Hellfire Citadel. What I don't know is if you'll be able to get it out of like Hellfire Citadel follower missions, assuming that they're going to continue with those. I assume they would.
That would be absolutely insane if you got that the first week.
Yeah. So I wonder if they'll treat that like the tier and the weapons and just say, not make it available. I mean, other trinkets have been available. Obviously, you can get through your current missions, the Black Rock Foundry, but this is a little different. This isn't your normal kind of trinket. This one's special, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were to exclude this from those missions just for the fact that on day one, oh, wow, look what I got.
I wonder how they're going to handle the loot for these. Like, if it's just going to specifically drop the hunter trinket, or it's going to drop like a prot trinket, for those three or four classes. When it's like you use the token and it creates your class trinket.
Maybe that would make sense. Yeah, I have no idea. But still, I like the idea. We talked a little bit about the legendary ring. Have they finalized what it's going to do yet, or?
They haven't finalized it. They haven't finalized it, but basically what happens is, it's kind of confusing. So it's an on use proc, and when you use it, your damage is increased by 25% for, God, was it 10 seconds, I think? Or 10 or 20 seconds anyway. It's a big damage buff. And then when that proc expires, I should really bring up the ring. There it is. When this effect ends, each empowered player unleashes a blast of light that strikes all enemies within 20 yards for 25% of all the damage they dealt during the proc. And the proc is 15 seconds. So that's a huge burst of AoE.
Yes. Yeah.
So the confusing part is this proc is shared in your raid, so only one DPS can activate the ring, and then everyone's rings gets activated when they activate theirs. And so you all get the damage buff, and then when the buff ends, whoever was the person to click the ring, that is where all of the AoE explodes from. So the hunters don't have to go into melee range to hit the boss with their explosion. It comes out of the person who clicked it. So typically melee will probably be activating this.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's a very different approach to the legendary procs. We'll have to.
But if you're
Man,
playing
it's gonna
solo,
suck in LFR.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you're doing solo though, you will have to run within 20 yards of your target to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. It sounds pretty cool. It's just kind of confusing. Like a lot of people still don't understand how the explosion works, just because of the wording on the item. Like they have to put like a paragraph in that tooltip to explain what it does. And by the way, that proc does scale up. So
It does.
we were talking about before, when you upgrade your ring, you get it fully upgraded to 795. It's a 45% damage buff, or 44%. And then the explosion is also 44% of the damage you dealt. So, this is like, I can see Blizzard. They're going to design mythic bosses around this ring for sure. Like you're gonna need to like use your explosion on some kind of ad that has to die immediately or something like that, because this is a lot of damage. Like it's just so much.
What's the cooldown?
It is 2 minutes.
Yeah, so that's where the shared turns into a lot of trouble, because some classes have 2-minute cooldowns, some have 1-minute cooldowns, some have 3-minute cooldowns, and so I don't know. I think and that's where I've seen most of the complaints is that, I worked hard for this legendary ring. Why do I have to give up the benefits for myself?
Right.
And I don't know. It's kind of like what's the haste buff? Time warp or ancient hysteria,
Right.
it's called.
Yeah. Bloodlust, whatever you want to call it.
So
Heroism.
it's not like we haven't dealt with shared buffs before, but it feels weird.
Yeah, that's a little different though.
I've tried something like this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's I kind of like the fact they do things new or different, and there's no guarantee it'll be a success, but we'll find out soon enough, I guess. But why don't we carry on a little bit? I do want to go over Hunter Pets just a little bit, but why don't we carry on with the Hellfire Citadel and talk a little bit about some of the other items we can get out of the ranged weapons specifically. It sounds like we might be able to get a gun off the very first boss in the instance. Hallelujah.
Yep. I look at this as like an apology from Blizzard. It's like, sorry guys for putting your weapons on like the 2 hardest bosses in the instance. Like our weapons right now are on Blast Furnace and Iron Maidens.
Yeah.
Which for, like an average guild, those are tough bosses to get. So a lot of people are still like, running with their crafted weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I still have my crafted weapon, although we do have Iron Maidens on farm. So we've got Blast Furnace and Blackhand are the only ones, our only progression bosses left on heroic at this point for us, which is good. So it'll happen now. I don't know, maybe this week or, some point it'll happen, but yeah, it took a while to get there for sure.
Yeah, so boss 1 is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Might not even need to upgrade the gun.
Yeah, exactly. There may not be that point to it because, given the time and expense it would take to do that, chances are you'll probably get this either through a seal or just a drop, right off the bat. it certainly would be the one boss that you would do more than any other initially. So, and then I believe there's a crossbow off the 8th boss, and then a bow from the 12th boss, which is the second to last boss. I haven't really looked at the stats on all these 3 to them to know which is the best or not. But
They're temporary right now. They don't.
oh,
have
that's right.
these- Yeah.
That's right. I looked at that on Wowhead, and they were just it was
Versatility.
garbage.
Yeah.
Versatility. That's what it was. The only thing listed on there. But they're all going to be pretty close. They'll all be pretty close.
Yeah, and there's a few other hunter trinkets too, in addition to those class ones.
Right. So let's talk about those. This is when there's one that has what? They're all passive this time around, right? There's no on-use trinkets.
They're just they all have there's procs, but there's no on-use ones. That's correct.
Right.
So there's one with passive multi-strike and an agility proc, and then there's one with passive agility, and it's a proc that says it summons 4 mirror images to attack your target. So I don't really know what that means.
Do we know if it's ICD or RPPM?
The first one is RPPM. The mirror images, I think, it might be ICD.
Yeah, that's always really helpful, especially for BM. I think the ICD, even if it's not completely predictable, it's a lot easier to manage your cooldowns around than the RPPM trinkets.
Then there's an entirely passive trinket called the Fell Spring Coil, and it's just agility, crit, and mastery. No procs, just raw stats. And there's another agility trinket too you might see, but that's a melee trinket because it only activates on melee attacks. So including that class trinket, we got 4 trinkets and 3 ranged weapons.
Not bad, and then the fact, like I said, the gun or transfer the ranged weapon early on is awesome. So that'll be nice. So just thoughts. I'll start with you, Delirium. How do you think the specs are shaping up to compare against one another in 6.2?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say anything this early in the PTR. I think I've kind of gotten in trouble for running my mouth a little too soon in the past few weeks. So I don't want to say too much that anything's, definitely this spec's worthless and this spec's God mode. But it does seem like Blizzard is continuing to give a lot of love to Beast Mastery. It's been a long while now that we've really had to be playing it. And I really hope we're going to see marksmanship as the go-to single target fight, and we've really got to learn all of the kind of ins and outs of marks to really get the best out of single target. I think that'd be at least we have to have, occasionally play something other than Beast Mastery, and I won't be too disappointed. I have no idea what they're going to do to make survival viable. Hopefully something, and maybe it'll, who knows, as things have gone, as the roller coaster has been, maybe survival is going to pass the other ones and just go way up to the top all of a sudden. And it'll probably be the night before Mythic Raids open. But who knows?
And any thoughts from you, Bendek? Do you think they're all going to be pretty close, though, or we just have to kind of wait and see how the final tuning shakes out to really, really assess how they'll compare?
Well, yeah, survival's still a mystery, but I think marksmanship looks like it's going to be, the go-to for single target. I think it'll be better than BM. Just when you combine the set bonuses and that aim shot buff, and even today in BRF, it's really good single target. Or, it can keep up with BM. So you factor in all this stuff, I think it's going to be pretty good. And BM, as long as they don't nerf anything, it's going to stay really good too.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there's always going to be one that's, better for, there's always that hierarchy, 1, 2, 3, but I think they've done a pretty good job this time around of keeping them relatively close, that if you really have a favorite, you can just go ahead and pick your favorite and feel like you can be contributing and doing just fine in terms of your DPS. And I'm hoping that'll continue in 6.2.
Mm-hmm. As long as they, they have some kind of plan for survival, it should continue.
Yeah,
I think there's got to be. They have to have something in the works. There's no way they're just going to say, "Oh yeah, 20% damage gone."
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, I did want to circle back to the hunter pets real quick and some things that you noticed, Bendek, that were, not potentially good news for hunters. You logged on there and you saw that you have the oil stained wolf. What happened to him when you logged onto the PTR?
his oil buff is gone. After like 7 years, it's just not there anymore. So I just hope that's some kind of bug on the PTR character copy. But so all those people that quote unquote glitch tamed their pets to have effects on them, like the oil stained wolf, or that fire boar, or that other wolf with the sword through its mouth. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one you get from, I think he's in Eastern Plagueland
Yeah.
or something like that. He's like a quest mob that, yes, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So for people who don't know, there was a time where if you tamed the pet in this very specific way, you could get it to keep its effect. And that's what I did for the oil stained wolf back in Wrath of the Lich King. It took me like almost 100 attempts to tame it with the effect intact. But so I don't know what's going on with that. It's so when I copy over my character, the wolf loses its oil coat. But if I load up a character that was already on the PTR from the last patch, the buff is still there. So
Wait, so that might be good news.
yeah, it
It's
could just be
a
a
character copy.
right. If it's a character copy bug, it's good and bad news. Good news, you keep it. Bad news, if you have your character transfer, you might lose it.
Right. So you're saying, yeah, if you character transfer on the live realms, that you risk that issue. Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
So I mean, I've bugged it a couple times actually. So we'll see. Hopefully, someone looks at it. It's kind of an odd thing to bug. I was struggling to write the bug. I'm like, I'm kind of asking you to, like unfix this bug.
Exactly, because technically the fact that you could get something like the oil stained wolf was, I guess, in theory or maybe in practice, a bug, and they've potentially
It was
gotten
definitely a
around
bug.
fixing
And,
it.
Yeah. And they just they let people keep it because it wasn't hurting anyone.
Exactly. So, but it sounds like it's not conclusive, as you say. You've seen instances of the oil stained wolf and being bugged, if you will, and then having it be fixed, if you will. So I guess we'll probably have to wait and see what happens when 6.2 actually goes live to see what happens. But hopefully they'll just leave it be. And like I said, it's not anything they did in their code so much as maybe their character copy code is where where the issue might lie.
Yeah, it's something I've been reluctant to complain about because it's like it's just a bug like that's persisted for all these years. So Blizzard, please unfix this bug. As for other new pets, there's that Iron Werewolf, and there's a lot of stuff to tame on Tanan, but nothing new yet that I've seen. So
they all look like just newer,
yeah, same
other
skins.
versions, same skins of existing pets, if you will.
But Jeremy Fiesel, he's the one who made the Gara quest, and he handles all the hunter pets. He hinted on Twitter that there's more pets. I don't know if he was just referring to the wolf or if there's more coming. I guess we'll find out soon.
Interesting. So, well, I'm going to need more stable slots, by the way, if he happens to be listening. If we get more pets, I mean, I've done pretty well, but my stable slots, they're full now, and I think they're pretty much filled with things that I actually like and want. I don't think there's very few in there that I would view as disposable pets at this point. But in fact, I'm going to have to go take a look and make room for that Iron Werewolf. I'm certainly going to want one of those.
Yeah, I was looking at that recently, and I think I'm going to give up on I'd probably get rid of 2 of the porcupine spirit beasts, and maybe 1 of the cat spirit beasts from, what was that Cataclysm Zone that had 2 of them?
Just
different colors.
From Hyjal. I wouldn't get rid of those. The porcupines would make sense because you can always they're always 100% available. You can just go tame one of those anytime.
Right.
But those cats, I don't know, they're on that longish spawn time or so, and they, especially depending which one you might feel like getting, they share the spawn point. So.
Right. Yeah, but I can't think of the last time I got one out.
I don't know, I've been
just-
running with Gara the last week or so in my
Yeah,
raid.
I just recently switched to BM for raiding, just to get ready for 6.2. Make sure I wasn't too rusty.
You're
And,
giving up on survival already.
I kind of am. It's really dejecting. Like it hurts to see the changes and stuff. I don't know. It's hard to hard to deal with for me, and I need it to be better at BM anyways. So maybe it's worthwhile anyways. But the other hunter or one of the other hunters that I've been raiding with is already running with Loke, who I usually take. So I've been using Gara.
Yeah, I've been enjoying BM through BlackRock Foundry and just been cycling a variety of pets because the raid is big enough that I don't need to bring any kind of specific buff of any kind. So I've actually been having a good time, going to the stables before raid and picking out the 5 that I might want to bring out at some point in an encounter. So I've been using gorillas and monkeys and Gara and I like that. What's the
those big cleft hoofs to annoy?
I have one of those. I have one of the cleft hoofs, the one with all the stuff on its back that looks like a mount. Even I've run with him with the Glypha Stampede, and
just cruel.
I've done that before. And I do it on like which fight do I do that sometimes? Oh, the Beast Lord fight. And it gets confused with all the other animals and pets running around in that encounter, but. Or I'll use the cleft hoof on the trash leading up to him, where you've got the 2 cleft hooves that you have to DPS and confuse people. But it's nice. I'm enjoying, being able to utilize these pets and just, pull out anything I want from my stable and having fun with that. I still wish I had a stable in my garrison, though. That's the one thing I don't have.
What's up with that?
I don't know why they couldn't put one in there. I understand, and then when like I said, we've talked about this before. If you get the stables as a building, they're all over the place. Then you have like stable master every 2 feet. There seems to be one, but
yeah,
it would be nice.
I've been told that the Horde barn has one, but the
is it the Horde barn? Because I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, the barn has a stable master," and that's like, no, I don't. But the Alliance barn certainly does not.
Well, unless he's hiding somewhere, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But also, speaking of the Horde barn, you can do all your stuff without unmounting. That's my favorite.
Oh, is it
part
an
about the
outdoor barn?
Yeah, you can go in there, you can turn in and pick up all your stuff without or getting off your mount. It's the best part of the Horde garrison.
Maybe I'll have to go level up one of my Horde tunes just to see everything from that side. I haven't done that yet. But we have a few. There's a few emails and things, but I'm looking through the questions. There's most of them are things that we either covered through our normal discussion, or there's one that's just going to be too big of a discussion. Someone had a question about challenge modes and things like that. I don't know if we want to get into that today. Probably should have dedicate a podcast to talking about challenge modes at some points. I don't know if you guys have been running those at all. I'm just getting ready to start doing that with my guild a little bit. They're putting some of these runs together now, but I haven't done any of them, I should say.
It's something I'll get to at the end of the expansion when there's nothing else to do.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I think we're good. I think that's all we've covered pretty much everything we wanted to today. So why don't we go ahead and just do the outro here and call it a show. You have been listening to episode 216 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Dark Brew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
I'm Delirium from thrillofthewild.com and at Delirium Hunts on Twitter.
I'm Bendak from Eyes of the Beast, Blizzard Watch, and Bendak Wow on Twitter.
Right. Check us out on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or add our RSS feed to your reader, and we'll have these links available in our show notes.
If you have a question or a topic you would like us to discuss on the show, email us at huntingpartypodcast@gmail.com or send us a tweet at huntingpartypod.
All right. Stay thirsty, my friends, and remember to drink your dark brew lager.
Siempre está la emoción de lo salvaje.
Keep your eyes on the beast.
For the horde.
A life stealer, that's just the cost of being awesome sauce. A dues payer, a boss slayer, I rock out with my lockout Viper to cheetah to dragon hawk. No time to waste, cause I can jump shot. BM, MM, and SV. I can rock out any tree. Never worried about my threat, cause I've got FD and misdirect. Catching loose mobs in my traps. I never miss, cause I am hit capped. Cause I'm the hunter, not the marked. I'm the fighter, not the spark. I'm the kiter, not the kite. I'll top the meters every fight. Rated and game dealing death. Just me, my gun, and my trusty bed. Now let's begin with Illidan, Osirian, and Gil'jadan, Magdamar, Asgalor, Gruul, Cthulhu, and Razorgore, Onyxia to Ragnaros. Which one have we killed the most? Kel'Thuzad to Malagos. We even killed the Kama's ghost. Feels like we're getting close, all that running has a ghost. Yogg-Saron, Therian, Sartharian, Magtheridon, Sapphiron, Lucifer to Sulfuron, Archelon, Amalon, Coromon, Algalon. The faction champions, the death toll rolling on and on. Gar, Veil, Executus, Chromagus, and Jarexus. Moon, Uru, kill this. We won't stop till we kill our boss. I'm a hunter.